Yo, you guys still out there thinking the market's going down? Tisk tisk on you. Haven't you learned at this point that if you're thinking the market goes down, the best thing to do is to not watch? Because you would and you can and you probably did get convinced that we were about to head into this monster correction or the imminent crash. Let me tell you about how I figured that we're never going down ever again. And to the guy that said, how do I feel now about the market going down? What is it, 5, 7, 12, 2 weeks ago now? We haven't had any follow through whatsoever. This is just suckering us back in, right, for the inevitable rollover. If it happens, guess what? The market actually has to go down for it to go down again. So if we start breaking down on the certain levels, we'll hedge ourselves again. Fully invested. The fund is doing fantastically. We added ITMN, as you know, a couple of weeks ago. Look what it's doing right now. The only position we've actually taken a loss on is the Rambus. So if that was the one pick you decided to follow me into, sorry. But we made it up with the LinkedIn and the Twitter. Now, I don't even know where we left off on the last couple of videos and whatever we're doing. But the room now is self-sustaining. What I mean is that when I'm not doing a broadcast, there's somebody else talking in there. There's many guys in there sharing ideas. It's what we wanted it to be all along now. I come in, I give my 2 cents. But you can pretty much press play. If you see a stock that gets beat up, chances are it's going to make a comeback. If you see the market gets beat up, chances are it's going to make a comeback. Now, we haven't touched CRE yet today, waiting for our moment to strike, because we'll have to just assume that there will be a time where it bounces 2 or 3 points, like Kate Spade this morning, ICPT today. We're not longer in the ICPT. We just sold it at 303.60 from a price target. We got into 288, sold some at 294, and then 303.60. Again, if you are betting against this market, now again, let's say you got short 2 weeks ago. For all you bears out there that were looking for this market to roll over and sending me email about how do I feel now about this market and now I'm going to lose all my money. How do you feel now? If you bought puts, you've lost. If you sold calls, your stock's being taken away from you. If you sold naked calls, you're getting crushed. If you shorted NQ futures, you're getting hammered. There's no possible way to stay short for more than a couple of days and sometimes just for a couple of hours. Trust me, if you're not using stops and you say you're shorting this market, you're lying. You're lying to yourself. You're lying in your emails. You're just lying. Now let me tell you how I'm going to figure out when to really get bearish, okay? It's called the Rapaort indicator. I've told you this story before. My uncle, and I'm sorry I'm putting this right on YouTube, but my uncle, since I've known him, which is all my life, I remember him complaining about how he just got into the market in 1986, and within a year or so, the market crashed, or 1987. And then, the market had gone up from 1987 to basically 1999 for 12 straight years, and he thought it'd be a great time to get back into the market. He asked me if I knew about a company called Cisco. And I said, yeah, I know about Cisco. They make routers and blah, blah, blah. The stock was about $12, and now it's trading at $80. He's saying to me, I'm hearing good things about Cisco. Are you? Well, if you want to buy a stock that's up from $15 to $80 as your first venture back into the market, hey, look, I wouldn't do it considering the percentage move it's made already. I'd look for something else to start your way back in. But he bought the Cisco, and of course that was February of 2000, and the market proceeded to crash. And then it took him 7 years to finally get over the pain of buying the top of that market to finally come back into the market somewhere in 2007. And he had a little bit of a decent move, and then obviously the financial crisis hit. Vowing, pledging never to trade, invest, or anything related to the stock market. He buys municipal bonds, and he has his money in CDs now, making no money, but nor does he care. Now, if the Rapaort indicator calls me and says, I'm thinking about getting into this market. What do I like? I will then call my people down on the trading floor and say, let's close our fund today. Get the hell out of everything. No. We're not selling calls against our positions. We're not buying puts. We're selling everything. The Rapaort indicator. But the Rapaort indicator is number one. Number two, MarketWatch.com. Go to MarketWatch.com. Either the first, second, or third main headline, main article will be somebody telling you about the signs that this market is running out of steam. Imminent crash. Correction looming. The risk of a 10% down move is the article I just read, he said he'd rather not be buying stocks now because there's probably more chances of a 10% move down than a 10% move up. But that's also implying that the market will never go up ever again. Dummy. So if you buy stocks today and the market does go down 10%, what does that mean? That you're down 10%. Does that mean that we're not going to come back? Of course we're going to come back in the wonderful government-induced bull market that should last a good 18 more months, probably till January of 2016, like I'm saying. And then if we do have some selling along the way, in beginning of 2016, I think you'll get some selling, and then we'll blast off for the next 15 or 16 years. Yeah, we're not going to get the Dow 36,000 without the market rallying for the next decade. The Qs aren't going to 143 by themselves. We have to keep going up. So again, 2 weeks ago, we made out like bandits. We actually made money selling calls against our positions, taking something off the table by selling these calls, reducing our cost average on the stocks that we're in, and now everything's right back up. It is unbelievable at this point. Now, what's even greater about this market is still the internals are fine. The market action is terrific, okay? ICPT today. Breakout, bull market rule, buy a stock that breaks out, boom, goes up 20 points. How about some racks? Bottomed out, made a turn, you get a little pop out of racks. How about ITMN? What about Doral, DRL? Hope you guys are still in that. What about Walter Energy? The list goes on and on and on. Now, if you're not into sitting in a chat room and hearing us talk and learning how to trade, if you just want some stock picks, I'm going to launch my very own newsletter soon. 20 bucks a month. 20 bucks a month. That's it. You want to join for 1 month? It's 20 bucks. You get my newsletter. You get my convoluted opinion on the market that's been working for 20 years now, what I think's going to happen, what I think you could do. I'll give you some stop losses. I'll give you some stock picks, all in a fantastic newsletter just for $20. So I'm probably going to launch that sometime September and October. Let me know. Let me know if you're interested. 20 bucks. That's it. You test it out for a month. You don't like it. It's 20 bucks. If you make some money on the stock picks, if you make some money, then what I think you should do is come into the chat room, maybe take it to the next level and become more of an active trader. But if you just want to read a newsletter once a month, get some ideas where I think the stocks are going to go, 20 bucks, okay? Because, again, very difficult. Oh, by the way, ITMN just spiked up 9 points. I got to go.